Hi there, Gemini. Thank you so much for tuning in to your mid-November reading. Let's get right into it now. Before we do, of course, right, energy is fluid, so it may permeate a little before the 15th of the month, a little after the 30th. Without further ado, Gemini, I was meditating on your energy before I turned on the camera, and I was getting for you that there's a major point of clarity here, a major, like a realization, an epiphany. There's no turning back from this point of understanding where and how I've been contemplating where I stand on something. Okay, and Eight of Wands, right up and out here, horizontally laid, right side up. In reverse, mirroring, let's see what else popped out. The World upright and the Three of Cups. Okay, upright, both upright. Major Arcana of the World. There is a clarity here as it pertains to, I'm hearing social systems as well for a number of you, in addition to perhaps matters of so I'm hearing social emotions. Okay, I'm hearing social emotions. I'm hearing foreplay. Now we have the Eight of Cups in the top left-hand corner, the Father of Pentacles in the top right-hand corner, and the Sun at the very base of your reading. So beautiful here. I almost said Sagittarius, or maybe Sagittarius involved, as well as an Aries. I almost said Aries, Gemini. There is clarity as it pertains to the path that takes you, I'm hearing home, that takes you where home feels so far from the place. I'm hearing the places, the faces as well, the frames of characterizing what has been a certain home, so to speak, a certain housing of potential. Gemini, you realize that home is not a place. It's a state of being. And there's a certain facet to your being that you come to terms with in a very clear way, in a way of this shifts the paradigm. This transforms my interactions, the way that I'm hearing solid state matter, the way that I perceive myself in these contexts that involve collaboration, cooperation. And you have two eights here, the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Wands. I'm hearing the excuse me, the exaltation of my being that I put to rest in terms of my questioning process of it, a certain past, a certain series of events, a certain experience of emotional dissatisfaction. The questioning process of what emotionally satisfies us, the fine-tuning of that frequency that aligns with us in terms of our understanding of it. Comes to a point of clarity. Absolute clarity. Okay, and for a number of you, this has to do with finances and the role that we play in that, given this sort of emotional, I'm hearing it's like a cognizance, a consciousness that comes about. You have Temperance here that wants to speak out. It's a Sagittarius' card in the Major Arcana, and it's shouting over at the Three of Cups in reverse. Okay, Three of Cups upright, the Temperance card in reverse. Now, the Ace of Cups, beautiful, right beneath this Three of Cups. In this, if this is a conversation, if this is a contemplation of matters of, I'm hearing emotional finances for a number of you, but how the emotional realm plays a certain part, a certain role, how our interactions contribute to what it is that we create, what it is we dream of, what it is that I dream of, leads to a certain new beginning as it pertains to identifying exactly what does it for us. And it's so exciting, my goodness, it's so exciting. And it's a process, though, Gemini. It has been a process, and it's required of you a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous amount of patience. You have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, the Four of Cups in reverse. You're coming out with it. It was another sign that pulled these two cards. I believe it was Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn, yes. Now, matters of career finances, you do have the Father of Pentacles, or maybe a Capricorn involved in a certain way, but there is a release point. Okay. A clarification of what we've been holding on to in a certain way, emotionally perhaps, as we may have perceived it, as we recognize it. Okay, now, let us see what comes through. Now, I'm getting that there's a little detail here that you come to, that serves as an indicator. Very interesting. Okay, now, major focus here on decision, on clarity. And you have judgment, and justice. It was, lots of signs have been pulling both judgment and justice. Was it Leo? Okay. Leo. Yes, okay, pulled both judgment and justice. Now, I'm back in Dimension Cancer for you and Scorpio. Gemini, let me read all the cards off to you. You have the Seven of Swords upright in your deep past, the Hierophant in reverse in the recent past, Five of Pentacles sitting right at the edge of this Eight of Cups, right at the sort of periphery of it. Five of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, but there's this overlapping between earth and water, matters of career, material, finances, whatever we feel contributes to our sense of security and stability, and matters of emotions. I'm hearing emotional finances strongly for a number of you. How our emotions play a certain role in what it is that we create, and vice versa. Now, the Daughter of Pentacles, okay, in your energetic pathway that leads you into your current state of the Six of Cups upright. Major focus here on collaboration, on cooperation, on systems of bodies, of speaking, I'm hearing, of communication. And Gemini, you are ruled by Mercury, right? The ruler of communication. So that may be a focus for you here, absolutely, as it pertains to, I'm getting specifically, though, speaking with others, through others. Okay. And how it is that what we all want to say speaks as a single voice in a certain way. And how I'm hearing, who can I do that with? Who gets me? Who do I get in the ways where we don't just understand each other, we don't just fathom each other, I'm hearing, but we merge, we become in a certain way each other, we mirror each other. There's a desire for mirroring here in a way that's constructive, okay, and in line with our values. Systems of growth, I'm hearing. Now, there's a desire for the longevity, okay, of, I hear the access point of matters of relationships. How do we move into the prospect of a new beginning in such a way that doesn't necessarily define what our long-term objective is, but acknowledges the desire to sustain in a constructive, productive way what is inherently an emotional, reciprocal relationship. Okay. And I'm getting interaction. Now, you have here, very interesting because you got the Hierophant, which is Taurus's card, in reverse, shouting over the Six of Cups upright. There's a tremendous focus here on relationships, okay, on cooperation as well. But there is this confrontation of what defines a partnership, what defines a relationship, what defines in a certain way give or take. Okay, and the conventionalism of that, of those parameters, of that concept is met by the sheer experience of it. And you're almost like, well, my experience tells more than what is a rule, is a law, a sort of regulation of matters of love, of partnership, of relationship. Now, I remember, Gemini, in your early November reading, you had this sort of focus on experimentation and it's sort of unconventionality to matters of partnership and love. And you have here the Hierophant, okay, in reverse, which speaks to sort of unconventionality. And I was hearing for you, as I was meditating on your energy before I turned the camera as well, Renegade. So, and I'm hearing Renegade Cycle. And I'm hearing Cyclone as well. So there's a transformation to the perception of the conceptual framework and that which is actually, I'm hearing employable, implementable in a certain way. Applicable in the third dimension pertaining to matters of love. I'm also hearing career in tandem, and you do have the Daughter of Pentacles with the Six of Cups. Nonetheless, you've got here, let me lay all the cards out. A lot of cards here. Gemini. The Nine of Swords, and I'm back to mention again, lots of realizations here, lots of realizations. The Nine of Swords in reverse and the Five of Swords in reverse in your advice. Okay, both Swords cards, both speaking to the air element, both in reverse. The 5 and the 9. Gemini, you're being beckoned. Okay, and you got two fives in your spread here, okay, that are both in reverse, that speaks to, I'm hearing, the retrieval of what we understand is an inherent truth, not by way of our excavation, I'm hearing, of a certain site. Take it as you will. It could be a physical location, it could be a website, right? And so it could be taken in a number of ways. What is it that we know inherently without finding the answer? That is the point of understanding how we play, I'm hearing, as both the receiver and the projector of matters of love. How we engage in that rapport. How we abide by our, I'm hearing, frequency of learning. I'm hearing specifically for a number of you, learning and knowing. What's the process that we follow when we're involved in social situations, okay, that require of us to, I'm hearing, interact with others, to, I'm hearing, dabble, to experiment, to, I'm hearing, exploitive. Okay, take it as you will, and it can be met in a number of ways, okay, but how is it that we follow a certain thread? And what's the thread that we're following? That we recognize we are utilizing for a very specific reason. Because it is our thread of consciousness. And there's a consciousness, there's an awareness of that for you, Gemini, of, it's like a self-awareness. It's a reflective moment where you're like, okay, this is my personal truth. This is my, I'm hearing my higher state. I'm hearing of learning again, specifically for a number of you, of being, of embodying my values. Okay, I'm hearing my knowledge. In what situations, in what contexts, in what environments am I presenting this truth to myself and others by way of utilizing it in a certain way? There is a sort of inherent conveying of your personal truth in a very subtle way, right? To which point you're not like, it's not necessarily directly telling, I'm hearing directly accessing, but it's like, well, this is my personal philosophy, this is right. And so it's sort of in a subtle, indirect way, Gemini, as I'm getting it, that you realize it's not a matter of capitalizing in a certain way on the moments that I feel are prime to communicate what I want to communicate, that I feel aligns with me. It is a matter of do I and how do I embody what it is that I align with in every given moment with every single person. And there's a certain recognition of what makes us tick, of what makes us tick, and it's that point. I almost said Sagittarius, I almost said Leo and Taurus at the same time, Gemini, of recognizing what matters to us, what is the tangible course of action to fulfilling this desire. I'm hearing this plea for a number of you. I'm hearing for forgiveness, okay, and emotional renewal. The key to understanding what does it for us in a certain way is shown, is remembered when we realize that we may have I'm hearing bypassed frequency. And I'm not getting, it's not like when I lost the key, okay? But in a certain way, Gemini, it's like, in what ways have I spent my time fumbling, waiting for the moment where it's like you're approaching the door, so to speak, and as you're approaching the door, your hand is in your pocket, you're fumbling. It's like, at what point am I in a state of transit, preparation for assimilating my truth? And in what state am I I'm hearing not bearing forgiveness for a number of you. Okay, so however this may resonate with you in particular, there's this focus on not sacrificing what you feel is a personal truth to you. no matter what, yet again, the context is, no matter what the context is, and there may be an individual here who's very intuitive. It could be your very own energy, especially I'm hearing if you've got a lot of Cancer in your chart, okay? If you've got a lot of water in your chart, if you got Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio prominently placed as a moon, rising, ascendant, sun, if this is not your sun sign, there is a focus on heating of intuition. Not of what it is that you now realize by way of a certain fact that you configure, I'm hearing, but by way of the revelation of what it is that you have known to this point, and what stimulates you to align with, finally, in a certain way, this knowing in a conceptual way, is the point of transformation that you feel you're reaching. In terms of your ideological self-expectation, what do I mean? It's like, what I'm getting for you, Gemini, is you're reaching this point of realizing that you're outgrowing the paradigm of how you reach certain conclusions, of how you talk to yourself in a certain way into a state of containing your potential, your transformative potential, not because necessarily it was time. Okay, I'm getting that, right? It's all in divine timing. Of course, take it as you will, but that there was a certain process of growth that perhaps you were experiencing that served as a foil to show you, okay, in a certain way, the role that your thoughts play, the role that you play as a thinker. And Gemini, you've got a tremendous, right, propensity for thinking, for analyzing, for strategizing, especially if you've got a lot of Gemini in your chart, or strong Mercury, strong third house. That's going to be, right, a very strong propensity to think. But there is now the point of rationalization. How rational is it to rationalize in this situation of intuiting, of knowing what I know without knowing it, okay, with my mind? And I'm back going to mention, Gemini, that Mercury retrograde is approaching, okay, soon, and the pre-shadow period goes into effect around the 15th, okay, 14th, 15th. So, for those of you who may not be fully aware of Mercury retrograde and what it constitutes, okay, Mercury rules matters of communication, matters of transit, okay, dispatch of information, dissemination of information through various means, okay, any kind of media, writing, speaking, so on and so forth, discourse, okay, learning as well. Mercury retrograde, oh wow, okay, this is labradite, and it speaks to metaphysics, the occult, okay, there perhaps is a focus here for you on that energy, but and you've got the Death card in reverse, mirroring the Mother of Cups. Death card is Scorpio's card, and labradite speaks to the 8th house archetype, Scorpio archetype, Mars, Pluto. Okay. Nonetheless, Gemini, there's generally known to be this sort of association with Mercury retrograde of matters of communication going sort of haywire. So, the pre-shadow period is a sort of building up, okay, to that point of the retrograde motion of Mercury. However, Mercury retrograde is also a conducive time, okay, for reflecting upon whatever matters of communication did not fully transpire in the way that we felt may have been resolved. Even if we didn't understand consciously that it was unresolved, that it remained unresolved in a certain way, energetically, wherever there is lack of resolution, Mercury retrograde springs back forth those experiences in a certain way to address actively. And so oftentimes, okay, that is known to be, right, sort of also a perk, okay, a certain asset. And I'm hearing team building specifically for you for the period of Mercury retrograde. So as we approach that time, and this is, right, a sort of generalization, of course, it always, right, many factors go into play, it depends, but there may be certain concepts, and I'm hearing frameworks of communication that may come into play here now. And the Scorpio 8th house, Mars, Pluto archetype may be a focus here, okay, with that. Nonetheless, specifically Pluto, more so than Mars in a certain way. Now, you have the star in reverse in the near future, okay, accompanied by the Mother of Swords and the Daughter of Swords, both in your hopes and or fears category. The Mother of Wands, okay, upright, the Mother of Swords in reverse. Right beneath, the Four of Pentacles upright and Judgment upright. That leads you into, as an energetic pathway, the Justice card in reverse. There is a point of deciding finally that there's no right or wrong, that there's no left or right, that there's no decision to be made. And it's the clarity of the abnormality in a certain way, as you may perceive it, of the situation that you've been dealing with, that characterizes the beginning of the transformational nature to it. And it's held in your understanding, your perception of it. And how you move through this period creatively, in a resourceful way, in a more practical way as well, given the clarity that you hold, specifically energetically, frequentially, self-reflectively, there is a certain progress that's made. Now, you may also be dealing with a Libra, okay? Becca to mention that, I believe, was it Libra who pulled the Lover's card, your card in the Major Arcana, perhaps. Nonetheless, you're not concerned, Gemini, with what the standard is. Okay, I'm hearing quality standard. You're not concerned with what your personal truth stands as, okay, stands for, as a characterized truth within greater systems of bodies of thinking and perceiving. I'm hearing specifically matter. Okay, so finances and career may play a role here for you, for a number of you. But Gemini, there's a certain recognition that we hold a certain dream, that there is a certain idealization, and that it is a matter of our pursuit of it. Very clearly, very, very clearly. And we realize, furthermore, that our active pursuit of it, regardless of, yet again, the ideals that it either aligns with or confounds in a certain way, that it substantiates or it undermines, doesn't matter, doesn't serve. I'm hearing the state of awareness that I hold of it. And it's the recognition of the importance of consciousness, I'm hearing waking consciousness of the desires, the ideals, and the implementation of them consciously, actively in our everyday life. Again, in every sort of situation, that stirs the pot, that brings to boil in a certain way what it is that we're preparing for, to experience emotionally, energetically, that we feel, we know, we understand is a very personal characterization of the experience of love, of emotional satisfaction, gratification, and the pursuit of it, you realize, is to be inherently personal. Okay, so thank you so much, Gemini, for tuning in. I hope you have a beautiful mid-November. I hope this reading was helpful for you, and have a beautiful Thanksgiving as well for those of you who do celebrate the holiday. Okay, nonetheless, thank you all so very much for your gracious support for this mid-November reading, and for those of you who supported the mid-October reading. Thank you all so much for your love and your light. I appreciate it. And of course, for your energetic support as well. All of you, thank you so much for connecting. And I highly recommend you to check out your rising, ascendant, or moon sign as well, as oftentimes those may provide you with further insights into your situation. For example, I know that I resonate a lot with my moon, even more than my sun sometimes. My moon is Sagittarius, my sun is Pisces. I also resonate here and there with my rising ascendant, which is Scorpio. Okay, nonetheless, matters of finances, relationships, love, career, even hobbies may relate to your Venus sign. So if you don't know your Venus sign, if you don't know your other signs as well, you can compute them via the link below in the description box that I provide, and that will compute them for you. Just note, though, that you do need your quasi-exact birth time to compute the accurate rising ascendant sign. You may be able to get your moon sign without an exact birth time if you were born on a day where the sign of the moon wasn't changing. Okay, so play around with it if you don't know your signs. Otherwise, thank you so much again, all of you, for tuning in, for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions. I am so very touched by all of you, and love and light to you all on this journey forward. Bye.